I have here with me Fuseni Isa. He's a member of parliament for Okankwe North. Good morning to you, Fuseni.
Good morning, Roland.
You're on break, or what do you call it? Recess?
Yeah, we're on recess.
Okay.
First day of recess.
First day.
Yeah,
I say you're in a very relaxing mood.
It's refreshing to know that the pressure
It's refreshing.
It's been quite a lot of pressure.
Constituents are not in your house this morning.
Oh, they are already there. I got an excuse of coming on TV.
So what is okay? I know you still have to do your work outside Parliament. That's what it means. And Alasan Suhini, member of Parliament for Tamale North. Thanks for joining me, Alasan. When will you be going to the constituency?
I came from there yesterday.
Oh, great, Charlie. Did you go to visit constituency or you went home? Both.
You can't do one without
and
the
leave
other.
the other.
Yeah. Once you're in town, you do both.
We'll have an insert from the president given to us. He was at the anniversary of Ghana National College. It's based in Cape Coast, one of the foremost schools established by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah.
And
looks like you are a former student.
Yeah, it's got a great history, Ghana College. Even though if you go to Cape Coast,
related by association.
People like Kojo Yankson, they don't seem to respect Ghana College very much. Those who went to St. Augustine, Adisadel, Infantipim and all that. I know he's giving me some fists there. But let's hear an insert of the president on the senior high school policy.
That a policy succeeds.
We cannot, however, wait to address all the issues of infrastructure before we continue with the policy. Indeed, that was very much the rationale behind Prime Minister Kwame Nkrumah's celebrated Accelerated Development Plan of Education in the 1950s, which ensured a decisive opening up of the educational space for thousands and thousands of young Ghanaians who had hitherto been outside the educational net, and which helped satisfy the manpower needs of the early years of our independence. The objectives of the double-track system are to create room to accommodate the increase in enrollment. Furthermore, it will reduce class sizes. It will increase the contact hours between teachers and students and increase the number of holidays. All this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be achieved with the existing infrastructure. Far from it being a new intervention that is being experimented in Ghana, it is noteworthy that it has been implemented elsewhere and found to be successful in countries as diverse as the United States of America, Australia, Kenya, and Japan. I am confident that the end result of the system will lead to an increase in quality of our SHS structure. Free SHS has come to stay.
Richard Kwejonya-Akon, JoyNews.
I will know that this controversy about now for the new academic year that will be starting in September, in which we're going to have new admissions for those who are waiting for their result after writing the BEC, that those who just completed junior high school, entering or making entry into senior high schools. They are going to be the first students of the tracks. It's called the double track system, in which we're going to have elevated schooling, in which we're going to have more contact hours for students, but more time spending at home or for holidays. Those who have to travel. Those who do some other things, who have to help their parents do some other things, will have to do that. But Suhini, let me start with you. The controversy has been ongoing, but we also know that the president and the way he's been consistent with his own utterances and speech on how government is resolute in the implementation of the double track system also means that government has made up its mind on the subject.
Well, thank you very much, Roland. Let me say good morning to our viewers. I feel very sad, honestly, discussing the state of our secondary education lately. I think that, as we put it in Ghana, like joke, the reality is hitting us sooner than expected, and it seems it can only get worse. You see, I am sad because for a very, very long time in this country, the most resilient sector of our education has been the senior high system. It has been the most resilient. I mean, it is the most respected, the most, the well-structured. That is why you had a situation where parents usually will want their children to go through basic education that is private, will want to go through university education or tertiary education that is private, like their chassis, but will always queue at the public secondary school to gain admission for their awards. They will always be at their Achimotas. They will want their children to go to the Tamascos and the Ghana schools. They want them to go to the Prempeh colleges. Public sector senior high. That has always been the trend. But when it comes to basic, primary, and if you like KG, every parent who is able wants the child to go to private. When it comes to university, every parent who is able wants the child to go to their chassis. The one that has been insulated is now also so exposed that very soon parents will now be seeking secondary education for their wards in private institutions. And that's what saddens my heart. My children haven't gotten there yet. I don't know about you. And I don't know the fate of even their children also. Will they or will I in future have to look for private schools for my wards to get secondary education when it used to be the reverse? So that's why I say like joke. We have the reality hitting us in the face. And the president can choose to insult the intelligence of all the professionals in education. He can choose to ignore all the recommendations that are coming from...
Which professionals have raised issues?
I mean, you just pay attention, Roland. There are civil society organizations that are into education, the ISODEX and others, who are all warning, who are all saying that, look, the track we are on is going to jeopardize education, especially secondary education. The president can decide to ignore all those pieces of advice coming from people who are professionals and be intransigent and be foolhardy and insist that this is the way he wants this country to go when it comes to education. And this needless comparison between the time of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and now is, to say the least, very dumb. Excuse me. At the time that Nkrumah introduced free, if you like, education, consider the number of people we had in this country that, sought education. What was the population of Ghana at the time? What was the appetite for education at the time?
Time of independence, our population was around 6.5 million.
So, and what was the population of people who were in school? Or who even wanted to go to school? That is why even in advertising, sometimes companies, when they are introducing a product they are not very sure about, will even give freebies, buy one, get one free. Once you get hooked on, then they let you understand that for you to continue enjoying that value that they are giving you, you have to make a contribution.
We'll do some pre-testing.
So let me just wrap up. Let's not continue with the politics around this whole system. The president was on BBC before his election, told us he had, all the plans in place, and that the infrastructure was not going to be a challenge, and that congestion was not going to be a problem because they had already figured it all out. In fact, Nana Akomia, who was one of the spokesperson of the NPP at the time said they were going to build, I think, about 381 schools, 350 secondary schools to contain the numbers. As we speak, even the 200 that the previous NDC started, 50 that we completed, are the only, additions in terms of space for this free SHS. They have not been able to even continue and complete the rest that we left, we handed over to them, which were not completed. They haven't been able to do anything about it. And I think that, Roland, let's get the politics out. Education is not just about school going.
What is it about?
You see, my friends in the MPP will tell you that, let them all go to school. Every child must go to school. So you pack them inside.
Well, you don't
and
want
then
every
they
child
stay
to
there
go to
for
school.
3 years.
You don't want every child to go to
they
school.
They stay there for 3 years. Education means much more than just going to school. It's not just about people being in school and after 3 years leaving secondary school. Education means much more than that. Education is much more than going to school. And you say, just the last one, I mean, the double track system and the naming and the renaming of it. When you say it's a Wiane Anapa, then they say, no, it's not morning, afternoon. It's shift, it's double track system. When you say it's shift system, they say it's double track system. Now, I have come to one name that I'm sure they won't debate. That is, how do they say month in Chi? Busumsia. I'm sure that's better. If it's not shift system, if it's not morning, afternoon, but it's Busumsia. So you go 3 months, stay home 4 months, and go back. I mean, what is this?
No, but
good morning.
But there's a good reason why the president wants this implemented, because he's been very vociferous on the subject, and the other aspects of it all is whether there's been a certain buy-in from the various demographics or stakeholders that will be involved, i.e. the parents, even the pupils, to some extent, civil society, and perhaps the political elite.
Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. And of course, good morning to my constituents in Okaikwenov. It should be clear whether I call it double track system, whether Busumisia, whatever you want to call it, free SHS is here to stay. That is emphatic. That is not something that we are going to renege on. We are here to implement a policy, a free SHS policy, and that policy is to ensure that all students or pupils who qualify to go to senior high school, get into senior high school. We are at this stage because of the astronomical increase in enrollment from last year. That is not to say we did not look at the figures. We had looked at the figures and we knew what we were doing. Last year alone, 90,000 students who hitherto wouldn't have been in school are in school today.
That's not true.
Today we are talking about the education of 180,000 students. And this double track system that we are introducing, it's not unique to Ghana. What we are saying is that we'll run 2 systems concurrently. The semester system. Students will go to school for 81 days, go on vacation for 41 days. Whilst they're on vacation, there will be another stream in the school. And so it gives us opportunity today to reduce class sizes to about 45, which is accepted. You go to certain schools and there are about 80 students in a class. It gives us an opportunity. Really. They are crowded now. This double track system will give us an opportunity to reduce the class sizes. We are increasing the contact hours between the students and the lecturers. It gives us a better opportunity for them performing better than they are doing today. It gives us an opportunity to utilize our investments in these assets in these schools. What are our opponents crying about? Free SHS is here to stay. We will implement it, we'll go ahead with it. The president is resolute. The government is behind him. All of us within the NPP and the government of the NPP are resolute. Free SHS is here to stay. We are going to give the opportunity to anybody who qualifies at the BECE level to go to school. And you could say education is whatever, but if people get the opportunity to go to school, it gives them a better start in life than not going to school. What is the cost of not going to school?
That's not true.
What is the cost of not going to school? Look, an educated vulcanizer, an educated carpenter, an educated mason is much better than an uneducated mason, because he understands the trigonometry, whatever he needs to better his trade. Of course. So this opportunity, it is not something we are not going to batch on. We are resolute. We know what we are doing. And you were talking about consultation. I am aware that heads of schools had consultations across the country. It will be very disingenuous for anybody within the GES system to tell us that they weren't aware or weren't taken through some orientation process. There is even a manual in place for the system, for all those who are going to implement the system. Stakeholder consultations, you can't get 100% of it, but I am aware and I know, and we have a list of people who have taken part in workshops and whatever to ensure that they understand what the government intends in doing. So we are here to give the future of Ghana a better chance by ensuring that anybody who qualifies go to school, and that is exactly what we are going to do. I think that the quality of education is going to get better. It's going to get better because students are going to stay in school longer. The contact hours are going to be longer than they are. More people are going to be, class sizes are going to be reduced. And what else can we do? 180,000 students. They are the people whose future we are dealing with. And we are resolute. Anybody who qualifies will go to school under the double track. And it's not unique to Ghana. It's been done in other countries. And we've seen the results. Why can't we do it? We are resolute. It's going to happen. Free SHS is here to stay.
You see,
it looks as if the president has seemed to be suggesting that everybody who is raising concern, or the concerns being raised by critics, is an opposition to the implementation of the free senior high school system.
I don't think that's our stand. We will listen to anybody who has any some constructive contribution to the system. Of course, we can be or claim to be the alpha and omega when it comes to policies like this, because every Ghanaian has a stake in how education goes. We are listening to everybody, and we will continue to listen to everybody. Constructive criticisms will be taken, and where it will better the system, it will. But for anybody to tell us to go back or renege on free SHS, that is a policy that we as a government today will not renege on.
well, you see, Roland, the question you asked earlier is the reason why we are where we are. The attitude of our colleagues in the MPP is that any suggested way that will improve education in the secondary sector and eventually lead to it being free for all, or those who really deserve it, is an attack on the policy that even they didn't originate. They didn't originate it because it is something that the framers of our constitution identified. But today, they have patented it, and anyone who suggests a different way of achieving the same result is seen as an against person. And they have been on that track since they were in opposition. And that is why we got to where we are, and we are all at this fix, where we are now doing Buzum-Sia education. It is that same attitude. You suggest that, look, wait, the infrastructure the way it is, why don't we do means testing? Why don't we ensure that those who deserve it, are first enrolled on it? So that those who can pay, like the finance minister has come around 360 to agree, will be made to pay. until we get to a point where we can make it free for everybody. Hey, he doesn't want free SHS. Hey, he's an enemy to the people, poor parents who are getting free education. They won't even listen. And it is that same attitude that the president has demonstrated and my brother is demonstrating here. Yes, it's our policy. We will implement it. It is here to stay. Whether children are packed as sardines in the school because your child is not part of them.
No, this
because
one, no child will be packed. Rather, there's going to be space.
I said whether the children are packed as you see, you have to wait for me to land. Whether the children are packed as sardine, you know, or they are made to do busumzia, he doesn't care. For him,
care. That's how come down now we have the double track system.
He didn't promise us double track system, did he? He told us he had all the programs in place to ensure that the policy is rolled out without any disturbance.
So, haven't we heard that even though the numbers were projected, the numbers rather have become overwhelming, and that
this issue of numbers, Roland, from Dr. Kwame Nkrumah time up till to the time that the MPP came to power, there hasn't been a year that the numbers have not increased at the senior high school level in terms of enrollment.
Well, logically, population is increasing and all that.
There hasn't been a year. So that natural attribution of these numbers last year to free SHS is unintelligent.
But
I mean, the natural, unless you do a correlation.
But policy improvements in its implementation could also witness some increments in the numbers.
I'm saying that if you do a correlation and convince me that despite the yearly increase in enrollment, this year's increment, this is the part that is the yearly increment, this one is attributable to the free SHS. That's the only way you can come. But if you just say because there was an increase, then it is because of free SHS. Every year there has been an increase.
So we need to be implemented, I'm told. But as you want to contribute, let me ask. You know, we've had civil society make comments. Even now, you could hear in mainstream media parents and even some of the students making comments, raising concerns. Can you tell me today that from the period of the last week till now, there have been a number or even one concern or contribution from the various stakeholders that government has taken on board in this whole implementation of the double track, right?
Yeah, double
track system.
Before I come to the point,
you're skipping my question.
I'm not skipping your question.
You are skipping.
Your question.
Answer my question, and then you can rebut.
Some of the fears I've heard from parents and stakeholders that the students probably will stay home much longer, for 41 days out of school, and anything could happen, especially for children at that age. And I've heard suggestions from how to engage the students whilst they're on vacation. And these are things that are being considered. Suggestions are being thrown. So, of course, there are policy framers who will think through this.
In what ways are they considering that?
There are numerous things students could do. Are they going to be given project works so they could work on whilst they are not in school? Are they going to be engaged through some community sort of libraries or something? And you even mentioned the point. Look, when I was in secondary school, my father used to run a transport business. And so when I came on vacation, I took over the business.
But do you know your father is not an average Ghanaian father?
No, my father is a very average Ghanaian father. That's not true. And he gave us the opportunity to be following the trotros around town. So when I was on vacation,
your father was running, had owned transport.
I said he was running. As to whether he owned it or not, he was running.
Right.
And so it gave me an opportunity to be following this trotros around town. So in vacation, when the drivers were going to Abosuka, I was with them. So as to how to run a transport business and what it entails, I learned it first hand. You see, it was an opportunity. And if the students could be engaged in ways like that, I think that this system will be very beneficial. The other thing I wanted to say is our colleagues keep saying addition to schools, addition to schools, addition to schools. Look, when I was in Legon, between 1996 and 1999, the population of Legon was about 10,000. 10,000. Today, the same University of Ghana has a population close to 50,000. No new University of Ghana has been built, but facilities had been added on there.
So why don't we add facilities?
Of course.
That defeats your own argument.
No. What I'm saying is that we don't need to build the new e-blocks, as they used to call it. We could add, when you go to my school, Presec, for instance. When you go to Presec, for instance. Yes, okay. Facilities have been added to Presec.
Where?
We are building new boarding houses in Presec. I'm talking about Presec because I know firsthand what is happening there.
When was that?
They are building new lecture theatres. So what is the problem?
When was it started?
We can
I'm asking you when it was started because you see, the NDC was not just building new schools.
And sorry?
We're not just building new schools. We're also making additions. Remember that World Bank facility?
I thought, yes.
You're also doing double track implementation. Once you build new ones, you expand.
How many of those e-blocks did you promise, and how many did you build before you left office?
We commissioned. We commissioned 50.
You commissioned 50, but you didn't complete 50.
No, we completed 50. That is what I mean. We commissioned 50.
That is not true.
Go and check it.
That is not true.
Go and
you
check your
didn't commission 50.
Go and check.
You promised our
education minister was in parliament last week.
You didn't.
They wanted to build 200. They couldn't build the 200. I mean, that's
add on to facilities within the existing schools.
All right, let's end this argument. Let's end this argument now.
So it's a feasible thing.
So it will be implemented.
Oh, it is going on. It's going
on.
Oh, Kianikin.
And so,
I feel sad, seriously, and I feel sorry for parents.
I'm elated that we have found a solution to a challenging.
You have a child who is in senior high school?
Not yet. My children are not yet at that stage.
They won't go to public secondary.
Oh, really? They will, just like me.
All right.
Unfortunately, I have girls, else they will all have gone to Presec.
So for all the criticisms we're hearing and the concerns being raised, what do you think is the alternative? What alternative would even your side propose to be perhaps a complement or could be a replacement for the double track system? Because now the numbers are surging, they are overwhelming.
You see, I have said elsewhere that it is an unfair request, but it's a correct one. When people say, what is the NDC's suggestion? Unfair because the NDC warned about all the problems we are now seeing and was ignored. But it is correct because we are in a state of a quagmire and there's a need for us to get out of that situation. But as a party, consistently, we have said that there's a need for us to rethink this whole rushed implementation of a wholesale free senior high school that the government is embarking on.
So your solution would have been?
Remember, in one of our unity works, our former president made the call that there was a need for us to have a stakeholders engagement. The government should embrace a stakeholder, process.
That won't happen.
Of brainstorming to get out of this quagmire that we find ourselves. Guess what they did to him after that unity war? Daily Guide and all their communicators were on rampage, suggesting that he was promising to reverse senior high school if he ever becomes president.
And is that all he said?
But you see,
school is reopening in September.
We cannot.
School is reopening in September.
I know.
Okay, so supposing, let's say, we say, come and take over the reins of government today. MPP says, Charlie, Yapaba, come and take the reins of government today. What would you do to accommodate the numbers?
The NDC always
cut down it.
The NDC is always a solution finder. I'll tell you why I think we will find a solution if that situation arises.
What is your solution?
When President Kufuor
we have a situation.
Wait a minute. When President
we're faced with the situation of the numbers.
Kufuor extended the senior higher education by 4 years. You remember what Professor Mills did when he came to power, when there was no expansion, no classroom blocks to accommodate the 4 years. Even in some cases, we had to mount tents in the schools to accommodate the 4 years. The NDC doesn't just back off a policy. we look at
So that's what
is
you do
on the table.
You accommodate
and
the numbers in one
Intense.
stream school
Intense.
You see,
or schooling
that is-
calendar, right?
You see the propaganda that I say we accommodate them in 10. Did I say that here? So the next thing you hear is Swahili says they accommodate them in 10.
But that's what
That
you
is
say.
what is killing
That is
this
what you say.
our politics, my brother. Let's
Look,
stop
we
that.
can't wait to put in
Let's
all the
stop that.
infrastructure.
I'm telling you that
before the
you
children go
created
to
a
school.
problem. Your
We
government
won't wait until we put in all the
your
all
government
the
created a
infrastructure,
problem,
all the
and
niceties.
we had to
Now
deal
let's-
with that
let's-
problem.
let's
And
talk
in
about
dealing
it.
with it, we created
180,000 students waiting to go to school. Any way or form we
You
are going to get
guys,
them in school,
your
we are going to do, and
intelligence.
that is why we are having the double track system, and that's what we are going to do.
You created a problem. In solving the problem, in some
Our
cases, we
original
had
problem
to
is to
we-
make sure
we
that
had
the students of Ghana
we
go to
had
school.
We had to mount
Is
tents
that
to
what you're saying?
accommodate them. Now he says
Would you prefer them staying out of
What is
school?
your logic? How do you understand?
I am sure
these
the
things?
two of us are sitting here today because we got opportunity to go to school.
Yes.
Don't deny
Yes.
anybody of the
You see,
opportunity to
Roland,
go to
that is
school.
again the mistake they are making.
But
I already have said
that-
that.
that
I've
what?
already said that. Look,
Don't
education
deny
is
anybody
different from going
opportunity.
to school.
So
You and I are here
If you
because we
didn't
got
get
education.
if you didn't get education,
Not because
Swahili,
we go to
I
school,
will
we
tell you
went to
that
school.
your people will not have
There are a
voted
lot
for
of
you.
people who went to school.
I am here because
you
I
know
got
their
opportunity.
results out there. They just went
Of
to
course,
school.
of course, but
You know
going
there are
to
results.
school-
But we need
going
more
school
people to go
anyway.
to school to
Anyway,
get more
To
it's
get
better than not going to
education,
school.
that is true. But if you see, if their school
get your
system is
arguments
such
on
that
this.
it can't give
Yes,
you education,
but once they
if the
go to
school
school,
system is such that it
it's
can't give you
once they go to
education,
school,
then
you
it's
give them
useless.
any of you,
opportunity at life.
any
Not
of you,
going to
any
school
of
at
you
all.
members of parliament, members of the Committee on Mines and Energy, any of you?
No.
Okay. And we know that this raging controversy before the House went on recess about the a new deal to replace the Ameri deal, and we're told that there's an organization called Miscellaneous. Is it Miscellaneous Corporation?
I think you got it right. I think you got it right.
Okay, and they are supposed to be to take over from Ameri. They are supposed to be the managers of the plants under a new deal, which will take us for the next 15 years. But the minority has been raising some concerns. We have a ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, Adam Mutawakilu, also member of Parliament for Damango, in an inset. We'll try and hear him out, and then we'll come and ask ourselves some few questions.
So they have renegotiated. They have brought it to us in a form of novation agreement. And as ranking, it's my interest to ensure that the good people of Ghana benefit. So we'll go through the document critically, put all the concerns we have before the minister to answer, and then we take our decision as minority either to support it or not.
Okay. But from Kedri look, will the good people of Ghana benefit eventually from this new deal compared to the old deal, which your colleagues on the majority side say was bad, which is how come they want a revision?
From my own observation and what I have read, I don't see this one to be anything good. But that will depend if the minister is able to explain and clear himself better. But for now, as I've not met the ministry and the minister, this agreement is terrible.
Oh, you think the agreement is terrible? It's
Terrible.
It's worse than what you signed with Ameri initially? You think?
Ameri agreement was not terrible. It wasn't bad as such. Because at the end of the day, the Attorney General vindicated the agreement. They claim that it cost 510 million when it's supposed to be 360 million. Let's wait. When we meet the minister, we want to ensure that in that agreement, the cost of the equipment is 360 million. Anything beyond 360 million, you know we will not accept it as a minority.
No.
That one we will not accept. He has set a basis that the cost of the equipment is supposed to be 360 million, and that 150 million, Ameri was taking it free. The novation agreement, we want to ensure that the capacity charges, that is to pay back for the equipment, is 360 million. That is our first step.
From your reading, is it lower than that? From the documents?
From the information
figures
I
you've seen in
have,
the
it's more than twice that amount.
So Adam Mutawakilu there, And if you, again, peruse literature, especially what the current agreement is for, is it miscellaneous?
Yeah.
And what they want to do, and the criticism of the minority in itself, they've structured it in the legal context. They also look at the economic value of it, and they look at the content of the agreement itself and say it's a total rip-off. I mean, Ghana is going to be worse off. What do you say to this?
Roland, about this Ameri and miscellaneous taking over from Ameri, I must say it was a joint committee meeting. I am on the finance committee, so I was at the committee meeting. All such international agreements had to come to Parliament. And in instances where the president was committing or whatever is coming, whether from cabinet or from executive powers, is committing the government over in a financial commitment for a period of more than 1 year, we needed certain documentation to be brought to the committee. Some of those things were not brought. We looked at this. The minority is running routes and claiming, but the truth of the matter is that the two committees, both Energy and Finance, who considered this agreement in Parliament, had NPP chairman, right, from the majority side. And we also had the numbers. If we wanted to push this thing through in its form that was brought to Parliament, we could have done it. But we also saw wisdom in this deal and thought that we needed to rework it or have a relook at it. At the committee level, we demanded certain documentation from the minister, which were not readily available. And so we decided that until we got that documentation, we will hold on to this deal. The deal seems to commit us for 15 more years on this Ameri deal. We already had an existing 5-year deal. We're looking at how much it was going to cost for us to generate power from Ameri from now to the end of the 5th year, which is about 2.5 years. And how much it's going to cost from now if we took on this miscellaneous new deal that's still on the table. It's not a deal yet because Parliament is not approved of it. The minority can run all the routes and claim that they stopped it. No, but they couldn't. It is not the first time we could have done this by a majority decision if we wanted to. On Saturday, there was a decision by majority. There was Parliament passed an agreement by a majority decision. We could have done it, but we also saw wisdom in relooking this, reworking this, getting outstanding documentation, and that is where we are on this Ameri deal. I don't think that we have a new deal with miscellaneous. It is not, because Parliament is not approved of it. We'll have a relook at it. We'll go sit down as a committee. After whatever report we have, we go to plenary.
The fact is that we have an agreement.
We don't have an agreement.
We have an agreement.
Because Parliament is not approved of it.
So we have an agreement.
This country is not being committed.
A draft agreement before Parliament.
Now you're talking.
That is subject to Parliament approval. And
a draft agreement until Parliament approves of it.
It's good that you're on the finance committee, but let's ask the questions.
Yeah.
Is it true that ideally, if an agreement is supposed to exceed a year, at least we'll need the signature of the finance.
Of course,
or the finance minister.
It is true.
And this one didn't have it.
Yes, so we request. It is not the first time. Agreements come to Parliament every now and again. You could request for value for money audits on whatever the agreement is. You could request for all sort of supporting documentation at the committee level. And it's not the first time a minister has come to a committee with some outstanding documentation and it's been requested to go and come. We see it every
And this one was signed from the presidency?
Yes, it was signed. And the president has...
Who signed the agreement?
The president has the right to use his executive powers to do it.
So then it presupposes that the Attorney General should have approved of it.
And so it is...
At least you needed a comment from the Attorney General.
That is why we sit as a committee and we consider to ensure that all the processes had been followed before we as
It's
a
not because of
parliament
excessive pressure from the minority that compelled you.
Pressure from the minority.
Yeah,
Hell no.
compelled you.
Anybody who was in a committee meeting will tell you. We had the two chairmen from outside, and their contribution, what they said, how the whole sitting went. And so it is a very normal agreement, like any other agreement that has come to Parliament. We have requested for further and better particulars in our lexicon now, and we are expecting that the minister is going to come forth with all of this. If we see wisdom, if we think that there is value for money, if we think that Ghana is going to benefit,
it's good that you mentioned value for money. Did we have any value for money, perhaps document or?
One of the documents that we requested.
It was absent. But it was brought before Parliament.
What I'm saying is that it is very normal.
Normal.
It is very regular for ministers to come with agreements, and I don't think it's my first time in Parliament. I don't think it's unique to our government. When they come, we will remind them that you have to bring this and this, and we want, this is what we want to see before we approve of this agreement. And that is where we are on this miscellaneous deal. We don't yet have a deal on the table.
No,
we have not committed.
We understand.
We have not committed a government. So we have opportunity to re-look at it, rework it before it comes to the floor for us to have another consideration.
Your initial comment.
It is very. I don't think a minority has claims to that they actually stopped this deal or they brought. No, we could have gone forth with a majority decision if we wanted to, because we have the numbers. But for us, even for us, we thought that we should have a second look at it. And that's where we are on this meeting.
So, Henny, we've been getting comments from ASAP. And ASAP seems to be raising some key concerns. And if you look at they say if you look at the content of this draft agreement, Ghana could be worse off in comparison to the Ameri agreement that is currently in place.
My brother is right when he says that they have the numbers. The numbers that the people of Ghana gave them to use responsibly. But the numbers that consistently they have used to blatantly disrespect the views of the ordinary Ghanaian.
I think that is not a fair comment for you to tell us. We got a mandate from the people of Ghana. The two parties went to an elections, and the people of Ghana thought that we deserve to have those numbers.
Well, am I on the floor?
And for us to tell us that we are using our numbers to disrespect, I don't think that is what we are using our numbers to champion. The people of Ghana gave us that mandate to look out for their welfare, and that's exactly what we are doing.
Yes, sir.
So he's right. They have the numbers. And once again, the numbers the people of Ghana gave them to use in their interests. Unfortunately, consistently, they have used those numbers to take decisions and turn around to insult the people of Ghana when they question the sincerity and the benefits of those decisions. One that comes to mind easily is this US-Ghana deal. The other that comes again is that dishonesty in relation to the number of loans that a government managing this country should acquire, the amounts involved. Recall they told the people of Ghana who gave them these numbers that borrowing to govern was a lazy man's approach of running the economy. Roland, in the week before we rose on Saturday, not less than $3 billion US dollars was acquired as was passed by Parliament. Sorry, I have your pen.
Oh, sorry.
It's not unusual.
Not less than, you see.
It's not unusual in the history of the Fourth Republic.
No, did you listen to me?
I did.
When they said that borrowing to govern was a lazy man's approach, that's what they told the people. And then the people gave them the mandate, the numbers he is talking about. And then they turned around and dishonestly used the numbers to borrow in this unprecedented manner. Less than 1 week, Parliament passed what can be summed as loan agreements totaling about $3 billion. In less than 1 week. In fact, one day.
Does the 3 billion include the 2 billion bauxite one?
Of course.
That one is better.
That's
what I said.
That's the master agreement
millions.
of 2 billion.
That is what I said.
And what we considered was 500 million. So I don't know why you're looking at it.
That's what I said. That's what I said. It can be passed as a loan agreement. Roland, what is the difference between paying with bauxite and paying with hard currency? Is that not a loan? You can go for a loan and say you are going to pay with whatever. I mean, why are we changing the terminology?
Smart borrowing.
But you see, what I'm saying is that, yes, they do have the numbers, but that's how they have been using the numbers.
No, Ameri.
If you consider what is happening with Ameri now, it leads me to what I said in the early part of this government, that the truth you deny in opposition will confront you in government, and you will have no option than to confess to it. The truth about free SHS, the finance minister is confessing in government. The truth about borrowing, Dr. Bawumia and the finance minister are confessing in government. The truth about Ameri, the Attorney General, Nanado's Attorney General, was the first to confess. The government, through the Energy Minister, is confessing. And if you look at even the agreement they are bringing, it's as if the NDC were better negotiators. And they were just clapped down for nothing.
I don't get you.
Look at the agreement that is before Parliament today.
What is wrong?
And you will understand that the government of Ghana is expected to pay even more than the NDC had arranged for the government of Ghana to pay.
Over a longer period of time.
That's simple.
About 15
Listen,
years.
the NDC had an arrangement that would have ensured
today
that
we
the
are
government
in
of please
on
don't
Ameri,
do this.
Up
Don't
to
do
$102 million today.
But we've already paid the 171.
Yes, but we are in arrears up to 102 million.
we've already paid the
because we forced ourselves to pay for the equipment over a shorter period of time. If we had negotiated for a contract over 10 years, our payment would have been lower, would have been able to afford better with the economy that they left us.
I see.
Whatever.
ASAP says that we'll
whatever.
Oh yes, we looked at the ASAP report.
Whatever the arrangement
so you
is
ignored
today.
the ASAP report.
We didn't. That's one of the
Whatever the arrangement is today, the experts tell us that the first one that they lambasted and chased President Mahama with is better than what they are being, what they are presenting before Parliament today. So all I am saying is that, look, it is good that they are being exposed this way, but it is sad that Ghana is the loser for it. It is good that they are being exposed. It is only sad that Ghana is suffering for this mistake of a government.
How can you call the government has a mandate of the people of Ghana a mistake? Are you saying the voters out there did not know what we're doing?
They
had an opportunity to choose between you and us.
You are in the majority.
Yes, I am.
Usually when agreements are coming from the draft agreements are coming from the executive.
Yeah.
How is that communicated to you? Because I know there's a majority leader who is a minister for parliamentary affairs.
Right.
So how is that communicated to you, for the executive to have a buy-in of the majority?
Those documents will typically come through the leader of the house, and it's late. The minister will come.
No, prior to that, you are not aware as majority caucus?
Oh, it's just like any other member of parliament. You can only get access to some of those things when it's late. Until a document is late in parliament, it's not officially in parliament. No. Right?
Okay, so you didn't know about this?
Until a document is late.
So you didn't know about the draft agreement, especially on this
material? Of course, I know about the draft agreement. I have copies of the draft agreement.
You didn't know before it was late?
I didn't know before it was late. I'm a member of parliament. When it's late, then it's in the house. That is where I get access to it. So that's a process. But I made a point now, and people of Ghana have to listen to it. Under the current deal, we are in arrears of $102 million.
Why? refuse to pay.
Because the economy, they left us.
You refuse to pay.
The economy, they left us. The economy that we inherited.
The economy is
couldn't
not
keep
good.
up the payment.
The economy was
within
good
5
enough
years.
to organize all the parties that you have been organizing. All the
Within
parties
5 years.
for the
Couldn't.
the presidency.
So that is where we have the
where the economy was.
That is what has pushed us to
but the parties you could organize.
And renegotiate this
for 1 year you have been partying.
Over a longer time.
So you never hesitated as majority members on the committee. You never hesitated
to do it.
Perhaps by the energy minister proposing this, you're not comfortable.
We're not saying we are not comfortable. We have something on the table.
Since you have the numbers, you could have just pushed it through. Why?
Because we have required certain documents that we wanted to see. And that is what we are waiting for. Once they are brought and we are comfortable with it. In fact, we are not a rubber stamp parliament or a rubber stamp majority.
Right.
We have to
Hussein
go through
Issa
this
is a member of parliament for...
And make sure that people of Ghana...
Thanks for joining me this morning. And Al-Hassan Suhine is a member of parliament for Tamale North as well. So the two Norths, they've been my guests this morning. Thanks for joining me, gentlemen. I've enjoyed the conversation. But let's move on. JoyNews Western World Properties is presenting the 2018 Habitat Fair and is brought to you in collaboration with MNC Properties. The fair brings together finance houses, construction firms, real estate developers, dealers in furnishing, and many more. The event is kick-starting Saturday, August 4 to Sunday, August 5, 2018, with the first mini Habitat Fair clinics at the Achimota Mall, which is going to take place from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. There will also be a second clinic at the West Hills Mall from Saturday, August 18 to Sunday, August 19, 2018, also from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The JoyNews Western World Properties Habitat Fair 2018 is brought to you by Western World Properties. Live your true comfort. MNC Properties, a choice of class, elegant homes and general construction. Where you live, your dream, and Fortune City Estates. Our house, our fortune. JoyNews Habitat Fair 2018. Affordable housing for all. But please know we'll have a conversation. The graphic business in partnership with Stanbic Bank and Joy Business is presenting the Graphic Business Stanbic Business Breakfast Meeting. It's on the theme Unlocking Economic Growth Through Manufacturing, Quality, Cost and Competitiveness. Remember, the date is tomorrow, the 31st of July 2018, and it's from 7 a.m. Breakfast meeting. It's at the Omanye Hall, Labadi Beach Hotel, Accra, and the speakers are the following: Osafuma for Senior Minister, Dr. Oting Jesse, Managing Director, Tropical Cables and Conductor Limited. And this event is supported by Graphic News app and Labadi Beach Hotel, of course, we're the media partner. Joy Business, Graphic Business, setting the business agenda, Stanbic Bank moving forward. Please make sure that you stay with us. We'll have other conversations right up on many of these others also coming up, and you can get interactive as well. Facebook, join us on TV. You can also watch us live. My Joy Online TV is our regular channel on YouTube. We're taking a break. We'll be right back with all.